Okay, so we ran into some problems yesterday because the grader was wrong, and my correct solution was being marked incorrect, and so I wasted half an hour trying to figure out why my solution was incorrect, and turns out that it wasn't, so that was time wasted. But we got it submitted, and that's all good now. And let's, okay, so that's 2 days in a row of different kinds of bad luck. So let's make sure that, not make sure, let's hope we have good luck today. And so you can see the Rush album I was listening to. This is You Are Live. Okay, good. So 7. Some of its parts. You find yourself standing on a snow-covered coastline. Apparently you landed a little off course. The region is too hilly to see the North Pole. You just spot some elves that seem to be trying to unpack something. It's quite cold out, so you decide to risk creating a paradox past them for directions. Oh, are you the search party? Somehow you can understand whatever elves speak. It's ancient, Nordic, Elvish. Could the device in your wrist also be a translator? He's closed. Look for everyone. Take the hand you a coat. Identify our way back. We have higher priorities. Believe it or not, this box contains something that will solve all the same transportation problems. At least that's what it looks like from the pictures. Doesn't seem like they can. Sleigh kit, summer, sun be required. Sleigh, what a wonderful name. You must help us assemble this sleigh at once. They start pulling it out. The instructions specify a series of steps and requirements about which steps must be finished before others can begin. Each step is designated by a single letter. For example, suppose you have the following instructions. Step C must be finished before step A can begin. Step C must be finished before step F can begin, blah, blah, blah. Usually these requirements are like this. Your first goal is to determine the order in which the steps should be completed. If more than one step is ready, choose the step which is first alphabetically. In this example, the steps would be completed as follows. Only C is available is done first. Next, both A and F are available. A is first alphabetically, so it's done next. Then, even though F was available earlier, steps B and D are now also available. F is the only choice, finally is completed. So, in what order should the step in your instruction be completed? So, get your puzzle input. Okay, this is like a topological sort, and in an ideal world, I would have memorized how to do topological sort. This is not an ideal world. I don't have that memorized, but we'll figure it out. Day 7, sum of parts. Day 07, sum of its parts, dot pi. And let us write down the data too. But I will just try doing kind of the brute force way, and we'll see if it works. Because there's only really 100 of these rules, so again, a brute force should be fine. And as always, I will start with these raw inputs. So the raw inputs are that, and then the lines will be raw split on new lines. And then what I want to do is I want to extract the steps, so I'll use a regex even though that's totally overkill for this, and I'll say regex equals step A to Z must be finished before step A to Z can begin, period. So if I want to parse line, which the line is a string, and this is going to give me a tuple of string, so, from typing import tuple. And if you ever peek at the solutions of like the people who finish in 2 minutes, they don't bother writing out these regexes like this. They just say this is the 10th character and this is the 50th character, whatever. I prefer doing it this way because it's clearer, more readable, and I'm never going to get on the leaderboard anyway, so what do I care? And so what I want to say is pre-post, so pre has to happen before post, equals re.match regex line dot groups. and return pre-compost, and then let's just say requirements is a good name for it. So requirements equals parse line for line in lines. So now let's go over here and say if I went to run day 07 and requirements CA, CF, AB, AD, BE, TE, FE. And and so let's say and let me do this just to make our lives easier. I'll just say a rec is a tuple of string, so I can just, so I don't have to write this out all the time. And this is saying must be finished before can be done. C must be finished before step A can begin. Okay, so I want to find out what are the allowable. So let's take requirements, which is a list of recs, and let's take completed, which is a set of strings, and this is going to return a list of strings. So this is basically going to tell us what are we allowed to do. And so I need to import list and set here. Okay, and so what do I want to do? So something is allowable if anytime it appears in the second so why don't I just do let's do uncompleted as a set of string as well, and maybe we don't need this, but it'll make our lives a little bit easier. So we have some that have been completed, some that haven't been completed. We have a list of requirements, and so the allowable ones will so what I want to say is not yet satisfied is a set. And so what I want to do is I want to say for step in uncompleted. So I want to go through the uncompleted steps. And I want to say for pre-post in requirements. And, I might want to I might want to pre-process these requirements. So, what I really want to do is I want to say recs by post. That's not let me call this preconditions, which takes some requirements, which is a list of rec, and returns a dict from string to a list of string. So I think that's probably what I want to do. So, I want to, let's just say steps equals step for rec in requirements for step and rec. So each requirement is a pair of things, and so I'm just going to collect all the steps. So here's CA, CF, A, whatever. So I just want to find out what they all are. Let's say precons is step nothing for step in steps, and then I'm going to say for pre-post in requirements, pre-cond post append pre. So this is going to, for each one, give me a list of, and so let's say preconditions equals preconditions of requirements. And let me comment this out and run it. And I didn't return it, which is a silly mistake. So return precons. I just think this will make our lives easier. So this says that E requires B, D, and F. C has no preconditions. A has C. F has C. B has, okay, so that looks right. So now, and again, let me do a type alias. Preconditions equals dict str list str. So that's fine. Preconditions. Okay, good. So now I want to find, and so I'm not even going to worry about this allowable thing. Now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to say find order, right? Def find order given requirements, which is a list of rec, which is what I have, and it is going to return a string basically, because I want a string of, and you know, let's just say order is this, and I'll join them together at the end, and you know, let's say precons equals preconditions of the requirements, and now the keys of this is going to be every step, so that's fine, and so what do I want to do? So I want to do finished equals set. Unfinished is going to be the set of precons, which is just the keys. And so now what I want to do is while unfinished, and let me check one thing. X equals 1, 2, 3. X dot remove 2. Okay, so I'm going to change this to be a set, just so I can delete things. And let me rerun it again and just make sure that it looks right. Okay, good. So now I don't even need to track finished. I can just track unfinished, and I can say while unfinished, candidates equals step for step, what do I want to call them? It's not really recs, but in precons.items, if not recs. If not recs, and let's just do it this way. So next item equals min of the candidates, order dot append next item, and then I want to remove that from all the preconditions. So for recs in precons dot values, recs dot remove next item, which is fine. So now, you know, if I pick off, say, the C, now I'm going to go through and remove that as a requirement for everyone. that's just one way of handling the fact that now that's doable. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the preconditions for the item that I just did. And, I generated this right here, so it's okay if I destroy it. And then I'll just return string.join of the order and print find order of requirements. So I don't actually need to do this now. And the reason I did this min of candidates is because if you look at the problem, it says when there's a couple that are available, choose a step which is first alphabetically. So that's the min. So if I run this, it doesn't work, and it doesn't work because remove 4. Okay, so that doesn't work. If next item in rex remove next item. So I thought I could remove something from a set if it's min arg is an empty sequence. Okay, that's so. Let's add some prints, print order, and print precons. So let's run that and see what happens. So nothing. Here's my preconditions. I choose C, and C is gone, and now these two are empty. So now I choose A, and that looks good. I remove it, and I remove it from all these guys. Now I choose B. Now I choose D. Now I have E, which is a set. So that's because I did not use unfinished. So the way I've done this now is it should say while precons, because unfinished is not even a thing anymore. So let's try this again. CABDFE. CABDFE. So that looks good. So let us remove that. And now, with open data day 06.text as f lines equals line.strip for line in f, and requirements equals parse line for line in lines. And now I don't need to print this. In fact, I'll assert that it equals this thing here. And so I want to, I guess I don't need this in the with statement. And I want to print find order of the requirements. Okay, so let's run this. Attribute error, none type has no attribute groups. So what did I do? This should be day 07. So that's part of my problem. And this gives me a nice order. Let's see what people are saying over here. Is this like breadth first search? Not exactly, but it's similar. It's breadth first search is I know where I'm starting and I want to find kind of the shortest path to get somewhere else. Here, it's not exactly the same because I don't know where I'm starting, and then at each, like based on what I've done, the path becomes clear. So anyway, slightly different, but it might be in the same chapter in the algorithms textbook. So let us put this here and submit it, and that is the right answer. And we got 512. That's pretty good. So let us continue to part 2. You're about to begin construction for the else offer to help. The sun will set soon. It will go faster if we work together. Now you need to account for multiple people working on steps simultaneously. If multiple steps are available, workers should still be in them in alphabetical order. Each step takes 60 seconds plus an amount corresponding to its letter. So step A takes 60 plus 1 second, while step Z takes that. No time is required between steps. Simplify things to examples. Suppose you have only help from one elf, so a total of 2 workers, and each step takes 60 fewer seconds. Then, using the same instructions as above, this is how each second would be spent. Each row represents 1 second of time. The second column identifies how many seconds have passed as of the beginning of that second. Each worker column shows the step that worker is currently doing, or period if they are idle. The done column shows completed steps. Note that the order of the steps has changed because steps now take time to finish, and multiple workers can begin multiple steps simultaneously. So each step takes 60 seconds plus 1. So help from 1 elf, total of 2 workers. With 5 workers and the 60 plus second step, how long will it take to complete all the steps? Okay, so 4 of the elves offered help. Multiple steps available. Okay, so first off, let's say def step time step, which is a string, and let's call this base int, which equals 60, and I'll make that a parameter because in their example they use, I think, 0. It returns an int, and so I can never remember if it's ord or what. So ord of return ord of step minus ord of A. Is that right? Step A takes 60 seconds for the amount of time corresponding to its letter. Plus 1 plus base. So I think that's right. So if you have A, that'll be A minus A is 0. And so let us, let me comment out this because it takes a little bit of time. So let's assert that step time of A is, I said 61, and assert that step time of Z is, and what they call that, 86, and assert that step time of B and base equals 0 is 2. So let's run that and make sure that works. Okay, so those are right. And now, so each step takes 60 seconds plus an amount. So at second 0, each row represents 1 second of time. The second column identifies how many seconds have passed as of the beginning. The second, each worker column shows the step the worker is currently doing, or period if they are idle. And this guy's idle because there's nothing available. And then as soon as D is finished, there's only one thing to do, and it takes 15 seconds. Okay, so this will so let's do our usual trick, which is a name tuple, and let's say a work item, which is a named tuple. Let's see if anyone has any grief about that. No, I don't think so. Okay, so what a work item has is a worker ID, which is an int, and we might not need that, and an item, which is string, and start time, which is an int, and an end time, which is an int, and a duration. We don't really need a duration, so I won't do that. Okay, so here's a work item, and instead of find order, and I think we can use most of what we have. Instead of find order, I want to find time. So I have requirements, which is a list of recs again, and a number of workers, num workers, which is an int, and again a base, which is an int, which we'll say is 60, but for our test, you know, it was 0. And so again, what I want to do is I want to say that I'll figure out these preconditions. So this, you know, looks like A requires, you know, A requires B, C, D, and D requires E, and so on. So, so I've done my preconditions, and so, and let's say, you know, work items equals none for blank in range num workers. And so, you know, the naive approach is to count every second, which is like 60 times as long as necessary. The non-naive time is to say that the following. And again, you know, while pre-cons, so let's do our preconditions. And again, we can say candidates, and let's say, you know, current, I'll just call it time. Time equals 0. Okay? While precons, candidates equals that, and then available workers equals I for I in range num workers, if I is none. Okay, and I'm going to have to change this in a bit, but we'll go with it for now. And what we'll say is so how do I want to handle this? I want to say while available workers and candidates, let's see, worker ID equals available workers dot pop. So I'll just pop off the last guy who's available. And actually, I want to do a couple of things. So first, let's check if anyone is done. For work item in work items, if work item and work item, so let me think of how to do this. C takes 3, so at time 0, time 1, time 2, so so if he takes 3 and he starts at 0, I'm going to call him finished at 3. So if work item dot end time is less than or equal to time. So, you know, this guy is now finished. Let's call this work item size none. So I won't say guy, that might be insensitive. I'll say this item is now finished. So one, I want to say that work items, for I work item in enumerate work items. So let's say work items I, set that equal to none. And now again, what I want to do is the same thing I did before, which is and let's say the item equals work item dot, and what did I call it? Or item. This is getting pretty confusing, but I'll just do it like this. For each requirement and preconditions values, if work item dot item is in requirements, then I will remove it. So, you know, if a guy was working on C and he finished, then I'm going to go through and remove C from the preconditions of everybody. And then again, I'm also going to delete it from the preconditions because that's what I'm using to check that I'm done. Okay, so check if anyone is done. So that's a good time step. And now find available workers. So these are the available workers. And then find candidates for work. And so the candidates are going to be step for step recs. So anyone who has an empty set of requirements. And, you know, assign as much work as possible. And again, we want to do these in order. So really what I want to do is I want to sort these so that, you know, the first alphabetical one will come out first. And now I want to assign as much work as possible. So while I have available workers and while I have candidates for work, I'll pop off a worker ID, and it doesn't matter which worker I assign it to. They all work at the same. They all work at the same rate, so that's fine. Worker ID equals available workers pop, and so that way, you know, once I've taken all my workers, actually, so let me reverse equals true. So that way I can pop off the end as well. So that's just a little bit of cheapness. And you know, item equals candidates dot pop. So I can take any available worker I want, and because I sorted it in reverse order, I'm taking the first item alphabetically. And so what I want to do is work items worker ID equals work item. And what does a work item look like? Worker ID equals worker ID, and item equals item, and start time equals the current time, and the end time equals the current time plus, and then we have this step time of item and base, which we passed in. Okay, so assign as much work as possible. And then when I get to the end of the while loop, what I want to do is I want to jump to the next time. So time equals min of work item dot end time for work item in work items. if work item. So basically, the idea is, let's say I've put 3 work items in, and one ends at time 10, one ends at time 15, one ends at time 20, and it's just time 2 now. Then nothing's going to happen at time 3, nothing's going to happen at time 4, nothing's going to happen at time 5. So I know that if I go, like 10 is the next time I even need to worry about. And so then I can return time. And so I think that's right. In this example, it would take 15 seconds for 2 workers. So if I do print, what did I call that function? Find time of the test requirements, and why are you not helping me with that? And the num workers equals 2. Workers equals 2, and base equals 0. So I think that's what we said, and let's find out what went wrong. What went wrong is that I typed def instead of del, so that's one thing that went wrong. The second is that find time is required when missing argument because I closed the parentheses at the wrong time, and now I get a key error of D. And I feel like we did that again. So let's do print time, precons, work items, and let's see what happens. Okay, so at time 0, we have these preconditions, and we have no work items. At time 3, we finished C. At time 4, we've finished A, and we were also working on F, blah, 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 blah. And at 13, we pulled these out. And, okay, so I think I'm close. Key error at D. So, So what I think I need to do is say candidates equals if I need to check that I'm not already working on so what I want to do is say in progress equals set. If work item and work item, actually I won't do that. So check if anyone is done and remove those. Find items still in progress. So in progress equals work item dot item for work item in work items if not if work item. So I don't want the none ones, but so I deleted the ones that finished this step, so we know who's still in progress. And now candidates are sorted step for. So I'm only actually, you know what? I don't need to do this. All I need to do is remove this delete from to when I put something on the queue. So now I'm going to basically I've pulled off a piece of work to do. I've started him, so now I'm going to delete him from the thing that I'm using to track what's done. But that's going to so then I need to check that everything is done and not any work items. Okay. So while precons, so things that are not yet started, and there are not no while precons or any work items. Okay, so while I have preconditions to meet, or there are any work items that are not none, so people are still working. So I think that will solve that problem. Let's try it. Min arg is an empty sequence. So this is at the last step. So if any work items, then we have to do this. And if there are no that feels ugly, but I think it's right. 15. So now the sample will take 15 seconds for 2 workers to complete these steps. And so just so we're clear, let us again print time and work items and run it again and see if it really agrees. So at 0 we got nothing. At time 3 we have a guy who just finished C, and then so we start F and A. At time 4 A has finished, so that's right, and so that guy starts B, and now the next one is at time 6 B has finished, so that's right, and then at time 9 D has finished, not D, F, sorry, time 9 F is finished, time 10 D is finished, so this looks like it's really doing the right thing, so I feel pretty good about it. And the only thing I don't feel good about is with 5 workers and the 60 plus second step. So 5 workers is the total. So print find time, and do I still have these print statements there? I do, but that's fine. I don't care. Find time of the lowercase requirements, which is ones that come from my file, and num workers equals 5, and then the base is 60, which is what we said. Okay, so let's try it. Find time is missing the exact same thing I did before. And this says that this takes exactly 1,000. And all right, well, let's put that in. If it's wrong, then we'll have to start it some more. That is the right answer. We are 1 gold star closer to fixing the time stream, and we got rank 317 on this star's leaderboard. So, how long did that take? That took 43 minutes. Dang, that's a long time. But it didn't go poorly. It went reasonably well. It was just kind of a long problem. So, so good. So, I'm glad that it went well. And add data deo7.text, git add deo7 this, git commit m deo7, and git push. So that is that's up there. You know, just as a lark. This is going to be so depressing, but let's see the fastest person. Simon Parent, whoever that is, took 10 minutes to do what took us 45 minutes. So took me 45 minutes. But you know, it was fun. It was good. Advent 2018. So here's all this stuff. It's there. So anyway, thanks for watching. This went pretty okay, so I'm happy. You know, Twitter at Joel Grus, YouTube. You are watching this, so you probably want to find it. Here's this Patreon if you want to do something with that. And that is that's all of it for today. So I'll see you guys tomorrow or whenever I do the next one. So thanks again for watching, and